Hello and welcome to another update. It's the 18th and wanted just to a few little bits. There's not a great deal I'm going to add to the last podcast when I basically tried to sort of make an appeal for calm, tried to give people a number of reasons why we shouldn't get too excited as the time ticks away. So I just wanted to basically start off. There seems to be some general misunderstanding. I don't quite know why Robert David Steele should think this, but just for avoidance of doubt, I have never worked for MI6. Robert had written an email saying that I had worked for MI6 and now I wasn't. No, I've never worked for MI6. And anybody who's taken the trouble to look back over the last 10 years of my work will see that I have consistently said that it was my grandfather that worked for MI6. And maybe that's where Robert's got confused. But my grandfather definitely worked for MI6, and my mother definitely worked for MI5. I have never worked for any of those agencies, and I don't think I ever will. I'm certainly not a CIA agent or anything like that. So I just wanted to get that absolutely clear. You know, if you've listened, that I have been offered a job in America, which I have accepted, and that is not with the CIA. It is not with MI6 or anything like that. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's a job from somebody who deeply appreciates what connecting consciousness is about. Believes in the work that I and those around me do, and wants that to develop, and is very keen to get me to the United States, where opportunities perhaps are better to get healing centers up and running, to make connections in a new America where the attitude towards people is far more supportive, where we can hopefully bring change and be part of a new renaissance, if I can use that late middle age term, but a new renaissance of humanity. That's why I accepted the offer to go to the US, because I want to get as much done as quickly as I can. That's that bit. Now, I know a lot of you are very upset and angry because you are all supporting Trump, and you can't understand why the mainstream media hasn't been taken down. You can't understand why there aren't troops on the street. You are confused as to why people aren't being arrested. And you, like all of us, you're under a great deal of pressure because friends and family are sort of pointing a finger at you and saying that you've got it wrong. And the best way to show them, and the only way they will believe it, is when mainstream media is affected, when the President of the United States addresses all English-speaking peoples over the emergency broadcast in his own voice, and foreign countries with non-English speaking with a translation. That is the only thing we know that people will believe. It's on the television, it's on the cell phone, mobile phone, it's on the radio. But the point is that we don't have access to all the information. And just because we want it to happen yesterday doesn't mean that's the right thing to do. We don't sit in the center of the command control system having all the information in. We don't have the privilege of knowing what the plans are. And just because we want something to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen. We live in a world where we are used to instant answers. Maybe not the answers we want, but we're used to being responded to instantly. We like to send a message and it gets quickly there. We get cross when somebody doesn't read our message and reply straight back to us. That is because we have gone from an analog society almost overnight into a digital society, and we are out of control in terms of how we manage our electronic communication. We're not relaxed anymore. I come from a generation where you would write a letter, put it in the box. It might take 2 days to get there. The person might reply. 5 days later, you'd get a reply. Sure, you could express mail things, but generally that's what it was. And that's why the telephone was the go-to tool. It was, the ability to speak to someone quickly. Well, how things have changed now. So when we are looking at this situation, we imagine that it's the same, and it really isn't. And although many of us spend time understanding what's happening, perhaps a lot of us don't really truly understand. And I want to just say to you, the depth of the enemy, the width, and I mean this deliberately, the depth and the width through government, through private companies, through the entertainment industry, through the banking system, through the legal system, through the political system, not now through the military system as it was 15 years ago, more. It is so enormous that you can't just take out something here without a huge effect. And when you're dealing with one aspect, you have other aspects of that tentacles, of that octopus, that could come round and strangle you. So when you make a decision, you have to not just say, this is what we wish to achieve, but what will be the ramifications, what will be the effect in terms of other aspects of what we're looking at. And so I don't know when this is going to happen. I have a very good guess, and I'm expecting tomorrow. But the people that I've spoken to said, and I have made this clear as many times as I can, don't be surprised if it's like 1 minute to midnight, the very last thing. But I do expect something tomorrow, Tuesday. Might be wrong, but that's my expectation. But remember, what I've said is that the persons have said to me, might be 1 minute to midday, might be 1 minute to 1 p.m. Could be anything like that. But I have no doubt, and what I wanted to say to people is, if you're on Telegram, or if you're on any of the other platforms that have allowed the president and the president's supporters to keep the messages going, and I've just posted one on my site, simonparks.org. It's about the only one we've got left up and running at the moment. But I've posted a video that has been approved by the president. I don't think he made it, but he's approved it. And he wrote a message with it saying, please share this with everybody. Anyone decent, please share it. And it's only about 30 seconds long. And it doesn't tell us anything new. But what it does tell us is that the president is laying out clearly what matters to him. Now, it's all about the stealing of the election and all the wrongdoing. Now, if President Trump was destined to turn his back away from all of us and go away into the setting sun, and that's the end of it, he wouldn't be bothering to send these videos out. Okay, a defeated person, a person who accepts they've lost, might be very bitter, but they wouldn't fight like this. They wouldn't do it in this clever, intelligent way. They got two ways. They could either lash out and be totally out of control, or they would just disappear quietly like a mouse. What the president is doing is very calmly and calculatingly laying the groundwork through videos or through statements, explaining what and why he feels the way he does, and when, as they call it, the storm is coming. I don't particularly like that term, but when the action is taken, he has done everything he can to lay it out. Now, those of you who've listened to me a while, you know that on a number of occasions I've talked about half-hearted, most of them half-hearted, attempts to kill the president, and on one occasion to kill the First Lady. Now, if you haven't been watching me for very long, you might be absolutely shocked at that, but that's a fact. There was an attempt to kill the First Lady, and that was a poison placed on her, I believe it was her nail varnish bottle. But fortunately, one of the guys whose job is to check things, he picked it up, and he was contaminated through the skin. He was made ill, but best medical stuff on the planet got him right again. So that may shock you, but that's a reality. Now, what happened, not the Saturday just gone, because we're on Monday today, not the Saturday just gone, but the Saturday before that, which I believe was the 9th, there was a very credible attempt to murder I don't like the word assassinate. Murder is much more realistic. Murder the President Trump. Up until that point, even with everything that had occurred, the president was still reaching out, still looking for any other organization, whether it be mainstream media or whether it be a politician, who might, at this 11th hour, come back to democracy and say, look, I've had enough of this. I'm going to stand with you, or at least be independent. You know, Trump has looked at all of these major companies like Fox and some of the others to see exactly where they are, and he's given them attempt after attempt after attempt to try to do it. But what happened on Saturday was a very serious, if you say someone tries to kill you is serious, but what I mean is if it's well thought out, if it nearly succeeds, and it was really effective but was stopped at the last minute, that's when an attempt is serious. If you know 3 weeks beforehand someone's going to try and kill you as a president, then it's not serious in that sense, because you can plan and deal with it. But if something nearly gets through, then it's serious. And what happened a week ago last Saturday was a very serious attempt to kill the president. Or you might say, look, this is one of many. You know, why would that have a bigger effect? Well, it had a bigger effect because the president was, maybe it was a forlorn hope, but he was hoping that the approach he was taking could bring other people who were sitting on the fence to him. But what happened was a game changer. The president said to his advisors, as I've been told, that's it, or words to that effect. So that was the turning point. So it wasn't the president, it was the bad guys did something that had forced the president on to take this action. Now we know that Mike Pompeo has been quite instrumental in sending sort of undecoded messages around the planet with the regularity of his tweets. And we had recently, they were going every 20 minutes, and then the tweets went down to, I think there were 2 tweets, and there were 5 minutes between them, and then they went off again. And that's roughly when we had a small blackout in New York City. So don't get bored of that. I know it's difficult, but do keep an eye on it, because weeks ago, so it seems to me now, I was told that this was the signal that all operations around the planet would be looking for. And there are some Connecting Conscious members who are really good. They're monitoring that quite closely. But what we would expect again is Pompeo's tweets to go down to that 5-minute interval. And as we get towards sort of the 19th and the early part of the 20th, that I think would mean the sort of action that we're expecting. For the United Kingdom, again, I've asked, because obviously that's where I am, what are we expecting here? And the answer I got was maybe some power outages. But the UK is not seen as, in that aspect, a target. Of more of a target in the UK are some of the secret operations that have been run by the deep state through British security, potentially 2 facilities in the UK that might be top of the list. So any disruption would, I think, just be very localized, but we still might get something. And the person said to me, play on the side of caution, have a bit of food laid over, etc., etc. But we don't expect much. And the other thing, I think that the UK will be probably looked at last. What we've seen, if you take the trouble to look back, is there have been a number of countries across the globe, some names that we've not even seen much in the field of this topic, but have had issues. And when we put them all together, you can see that there's no coincidence. You can see that action or activity is taking place. So from the British point of view, that's the point. Just for those people in South Africa, we have quite a strong group of connecting consciousness in South Africa. Sometimes, other countries feel a bit left out because the spotlight is on the US, although in people's hearts and souls they know that it's important. But South Africa is a country that, like Australia, I have some concerns about, and have had a number of discussions with people, and I do think there's possibly some hope coming for Africa in general, and predominantly South Africa. And I'm not going to say anything more because it wouldn't be right. Absolutely would not be right. But I will just say this, that South Africa at the moment is on my radar, as is Australia. And I think that as these situations develop, so that we will become more aware of how the actions in America have beneficial actions outside. So look, the point here, I think, coming back to this, is that we don't call the shots, we don't set the timetable, and the reason that we don't is because we're not privy to the information. Imagine going in as president into office and finding that 3/4, or from a European perspective 75% of everyone around you is against you. Can you imagine? Those of you who've had jobs in offices or factories, and you've probably gone in and occasionally found one person doesn't like you, or two people, and very, very occasionally the whole damn place don't like you. Well, imagine that as a president. Imagine going in and being up against that for 4 years solid, and then trying to work a plan out with those that you trust. You can't just, it's not like, well, I'm going to have an argument with this person, and then when I've had an argument with that person, I'm going to go down the road and have an argument with that person. This is about, well, if I have an argument with this person, what will be the effect? And you might have to work out 20, 30, 40, 50 possibilities from that one action and how that works. That's why you have a quantum computer to help you. But humans are incredibly unpredictable, and even a quantum computer struggles sometimes to understand the machinations of the human mind. So we just got to wait. I can absolutely assure you that President Trump wouldn't keep on sending out these messages, and his family as well, and those around him, if he was just going to quietly go into retirement. You wouldn't do it. And I put another link on the website, which was really good. Somebody sent me, thank you very much, which contrasts the situation in Washington, D.C. with what we're shown in the mainstream media. So in the mainstream media, it looks like a prison camp. And it looks like the atmosphere or the tension and the energy is really, really bad. And we have a little reporter, and I say little reporter, I mean, not someone from the mainstream news, going in and saying, well, here I am, and look, it doesn't look too bad at all. There's a man walking his dog, So, well, the point of that, and the reason I put it on my site, was to say, let's contrast what we're being told with the reality. And if we're not careful, we can get confused. And it was Becky and others who have talked about this duality. My ex United States coordinator, who has been very supportive and helpful. There are two energy fields running at the moment. One is the reality of the lockdown, the reality of the control system, and it is a reality because it's a physical world. And the other is the reality of what is around the corner. So in physical sense, there's the mainstream media projecting a reality. So we look at that and we're affected by that. And then there's a reality of what we're told from those who are supporting Trump and what he stands for. And so as human consciousness, we are moving between those two realities. So I'm saying it's like a schism, but what happens is that, we get drawn in and we get very upset, cross or angry because we're into this energy of the lockdown. Biden is going to be the president, etc., etc. And then our hearts are lifted because we see something else. But always we want, if not tanks on the street, we want mainstream media to go down. We want the emergency broadcast to come out. We want to know that in the face of the general public, there's no getting away from it. Now, when this consciousness of humanity evolves out of this boiling pot, which is a third stroke fourth dimensional mixture, and we all evolve, or those of us who choose to, into the fifth dimension, where we'll no longer be plagued by these dual splits of energy. There will just be truth. That's the point. We couldn't, as a human race, be so easily tricked and conned and duped in any other dimension. But we can in this third stroke fourth dimension, where we are being bombarded with two completely different viewpoints. And as a human race, we have to choose which of these two we prefer, which we think is right. And once we made that decision, do we actually stay with it, or do we wobble, i.e. move between one of these energy frames and another? So in the morning, maybe we think Biden's going to win. How can we stop him? You know, it's all a done deal. What can we do? And then in the afternoon, we say, no, it was a stolen election. The truth surely must come out, surely. And that's what's causing all the problems. Okay. And, you know, I understand to a certain extent why people are angry. And a lot of us who have, you know, come forward and done what we've done and do what we're doing, we're getting a lot of anger from people who support Trump. They want Trump to win, but they are being drawn in to these energy field, which is a lower vibration energy field. And they are trying to contrast what they hope in their heart with what they see in the newspaper or in the radio or the television. And they can't believe that Trump can win because of this iron curtain, this wall of dense negative energy that is projecting this vision. And the truth is that, you know, just as in, you know, in Dorothy, when she made her way into the magical city, the Wizard of Oz was a very small man behind a black cloth. And that's exactly what we're dealing with. Something that can project itself to be enormous, but the reality of it is that it's not divine, it's nothing to do with God, it's evil, and it's actually quite small. And if we allow it to dominate our minds, it will dominate our minds. But if we push it and squeeze it down, we'll actually see what it is. So it's not long to go. And, you know, I know of no other president in history who has invested so much, taken so much of the slings and arrows, as we would say from William Shakespeare, and has made it quite clear that he's not conceding. And I can't see the man then turning around and saying, oh, well, okay, I had a good old 4 years. It's great. I'll go back to business. Because I'll tell you something in confidence. Trump can't afford to do that because they'll kill him. That's a fact. Do you think that these attempts to kill him will stop if he wasn't president? Absolutely not. The evil side, no, it's either him or them. That's a really important point. So if Trump was going to be beaten and he was going to chuck the towel in, or he couldn't do anything, why would they try to kill him last Saturday, a week on Saturday? Why would they try to impeach him? If somebody's beaten, they've lost the race, and you're going to win, all you do is you fold your arms and you sit back and you say, well, we've waited 4 years. We're going to just give it another week or another 2 weeks. What's another 2 weeks? We waited 4 years. But the bad guys are not doing that. They're trying to kill him. They're trying to discredit him. They're trying to do all of these things. Why would they do that if President Trump was no longer a threat? Now, the answer surely must be that they know that this guy, President Trump, has some picture cards up his sleeve, and that he is not going quietly and is going to fight back. Otherwise, they wouldn't waste their time with this. All Biden and the handlers around him would have to do is to say, right, just keep out of it. Don't say anything, not a speech, nothing. To Pelosi, don't push for an impeachment. We'll just wait until he's gone. But they clearly don't think he's going to go. So they're trying to kill him. They're trying to impeach him. They're trying to discredit him. So take strength from that. If you can't believe, what I'm saying, look at the facts, and that surely must break through. That the reality is, if you have 10 of something and somebody has 5 of something, you know that you're going to win because you've got more than the other person. That's because we're talking about a physical reality here. So on the face of it, it looks like the bad guys have got everything. So why are they so panicking? Why are they reacting in the way they are? It's because if we were to look over the shoulder of the bad guys, you would see that their cards are 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s. If we were to look over the shoulder of the president, there would be aces and picture cards. So then, why doesn't the president put his picture cards down? I'm not a card player. I don't know what you would say if you put down 3 7s and a queen. I haven't a clue. But, why doesn't he do that then? Because it's not right. The timing is not right. And people would say, well, how much more evidence does he need? How much more has he got to wait? What I can definitely and truthfully say to everybody is these last 4 weeks have brought out people who were thought to be good guys and have actually been shown to be bad guys. Had the president acted much sooner, there would be people who will be embedded in the next administration who are sleepers, holdover from the previous time. What the president is doing, I believe, is he's saying, let's take it as far up as we can, because if bad people are 100% Biden's going to win, they will break their camouflage, break their cover, come out and show themselves exactly who they are. And one of the biggest heartaches for President Trump are people that he thought were good and God-fearing and trustworthy and everything else that you want to label it, actually were part of the other side. And that I think is the hardest thing for the president to come to terms with. People that he's supported, people that he's championed or campaigned for, at the last minute have been shown to be not good people at all. So if for nothing else, it's worth it, because what you don't want to do is to go into a new era, a new banking system. I mean, that's really important. I don't think most people have got their head around that. A new banking system, a new government, a new way of doing things. If you've got this small, dedicated group of, I don't know, they're Satanists, but probably been blackmailed by Satanists. But you've got a small group of these people, at the very least, who will still work against you. So it is better. And also, if you're a good person, you're reaching for the final weapon must be the last shot. That's what makes you good. Bad people will go from 0 to 60 straight away. It doesn't matter whether you're a gangster or who it is. Your method of choice is the violent one. If you're a good person, you can't do that, because then you become like the people that you are supposed to be fighting against. And so you have to set an example. And what President Trump has done is set examples. He's given opportunity after opportunity. And I know that's incredibly frustrating for people that just want that 0 to 60 action. But that's what makes a president a very important person. A person that doesn't jump to decisions, isn't pushed by anybody. And there's been lots of discussions about this, that and the other. And President Trump knows his own mind. I believe he will take advice, but he will make the decision. Nobody makes a decision for the president. Nobody pushes the president. He will hear what people have to say and he will make a decision. And if you're a general, he will want to hear your advice. But the general might say, we can do what you want to do, Mr. President, within a 3-day window of opportunity. Now, you and I might say, let's go on day 1, because, we want to get it over and done with. But President Trump might say, we'll leave it to the very last minute. We'll do it on day 3. because that allows me to do some other things. So, you know, it'll be very interesting in a few days' time. And, you know, presuming we're going to have some form of connection and internet, and we can talk about how things have gone. But I will just finish on this, that if the good side doesn't succeed, then what we're looking at isn't worth having. And if we believe that President Trump and those around him understand that, that is the main reason why they won't give up. You know, we are so used in politics, and remember, I was an ex-politician, you know, what the Americans call a lawmaker, and we're so used to it, saying, well, look, you know, we'll come back in 4 years' time, and you know, it's a way of life, it's a career. That's what this Washington thing was all about. But Trump isn't looking at it like that. Trump isn't prepared to say, well, I'll put myself first, and you know, the country can just go down the chute, and then in 4 years' time, you know, I'll pardon myself and then I'll come back and have a go at it. You know, that's not what he's ever been about. And if people are beginning to falter and fail, then, you know, what have you been doing the last 4 years of your research? You've looked back consistently how the president has fought for the ordinary people of America, and we could argue for the world. Is a man really likely suddenly to change tack at the last minute? And, you know, what more evidence do we need? If 7,000, what the left-wing socialist papers call migrant workers. They're not migrant workers, they're not working, they're unemployed, so they're clearly not workers. Migrant? No, they're illegals. There are 7,000 illegals who have been promised, I wonder who promised them, that Biden's going to win, and within 1 day of Biden coming to office, the wall is going to be opened and these 7,000 first off can come in. So they've already been told that. Can you not see, I'm talking to the people who perhaps just seen this my show for the first time, can you not see the planning that's gone on here? You know, all part of a plan. And then, you know, the next plan is, well, we'll get Biden in and then we'll do away with masks. And we'll open all the businesses, because that's the Democrat plan. The Democrat plan is Biden gets in, we open up all the businesses, because we want to show that the pandemic was Trump's fault. Well, this is their plan. And there's the evidence for it. I've put videos on, and I'm sure you've seen them elsewhere, of these thousands of migrants trying to make their way into Mexico to come across. So that's what is being faced. And if a person loves his or her country, and they spent 4 years obviously fighting to protect that country and what they believe to be the right way, you wouldn't go easily. If you know you were cheated, you know, if you were in a race, doesn't matter what it is, a physical race, doesn't matter, and you knew that you were cheated and somebody declared the winner, but you knew 100% that you'd won, two choices: you just go away quietly or you fight it. And anybody who knows President Trump, and we've all watched him for the last 4 years, will know that he won't go away quietly. So that's where we are with it. I don't know that I agree with this let's get the box of popcorn and watch it unfold. I'm not that, for me it's very serious. Okay, I'm not going to turn it into some sort of Hollywood blockbuster, although, as people have said to me, this will make films and books for the next 25 years to come. And I agree with that, it will. But for me, this is too deadly serious. I shan't be sitting in my armchair with a box of popcorn. I will be very, very distressed at seeing confessions of people in courts. I'll be very, very shocked at the depth at which evil has penetrated what was the greatest country on the earth. It isn't now. And for me, it will be part of what Nelson Mandela called, you know, the bringing together, you know, the great cleansing but working together. Because Nelson Mandela realized that when the white government was removed, He didn't want a bloodbath. He wanted reconciliation. And that was the word he used. And there were courts held, and these people talked about what they did, but they weren't under threat of death. The point was, if somebody who'd done evil could come forward publicly and speak and, say why they did it and why it was wrong, and they realize that now, it was part of bringing a country together again. And so I really do hope that when this is all done, there is a long period of reconciliation where not just bad people are, brought forward to discuss things and talk about what they do. Why is my phone busy? Don't tell me it's Action Stations. Hold on a minute. No. Well, that's good. Just about ready to have a cup of tea. Why would you want to cause more pain and suffering? And so the point here is that I think that one of the most important things is to heal not just that part of it, but also not just Democrat voters, but people who maybe didn't even vote, and just buy the New York Post, the New York Times, the CNN, and they're going to need healing, because they're going to say, whoa, where's this come from? And I've talked about it before, but it's so vital. And as we move towards this phase, I hope some of you will see the vitalness of it. If someone's 50 years old or 60 years old, and they've never listened to anyone like me before, they've never even considered anything, and suddenly they are listening to their cell phone or their mobile phone, and in their own language, it's telling them what's going on. And slowly, over a period of a few days, they get the full grasp of what on earth has been going on, not just in America, but right across the whole planet. Those people are going to go into shock. I don't say meltdown, some of them will, but shock, because it's like my whole world has changed. Everything I believed in is completely upside down. And then the next point is, well, how is it that this person, who I was always laughing at, knew the truth? How did they know? Why didn't I see it? Why are they better than me? That's a very human thing. Why are they better than me? Why did you know and I didn't know? And you go through this, I don't know what the stages are, anger and sadness and forgiveness or whatever, I don't know. But the reality here is that that's what's got to need to be healing, because people, they'll still go to work, they'll still do this, but they will be screwed up inside. And let's not forget that this isn't just about bloody popcorn. This is about a nation, supposedly the greatest nation on the planet, its people, and its destiny. And if you don't heal the country, then your destiny is not going to be very good. So I understand why President Trump has not hit the red button. And so we need to just be aware that we are not, any of us, in the driving seat. We are not sitting there receiving all the reports of information. Okay, that's not our role. We have our own roles, and so let's just hold on and wait and see. All right, so listen, I don't know if I'll do any more until the grand day or the day after. Don't know if there'll be an internet. Everything I've been told and everything you've been told through your research and what have you, may mean that communications will be affected. And remember, we don't use the term 10 days of darkness. That's a satanic term. We're not going to use that term. We might say a number of days without communications. All right, so if you do have friends who are vulnerable, family members that are vulnerable, even if they don't subscribe to our view and they don't believe what we believe, for heaven's sake, if you can get to them and there are 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days of disruption, just go and see they're okay. Just go and check that they're all right, because they won't understand it. A lot of you will be, enjoying the popcorn and cheering them on. But there are a lot of people who are related to us or family to us who don't have that privilege because they made a choice not to understand. I'm not making an excuse for them, but here's our chance now to heal, not just to point a finger at them and say, I told you so, you were wrong, you're stupid, you didn't listen to me, If only you'd listened to me, you would have been all right. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. We have to actually be higher and bigger than that. So what I'm asking everyone, whatever country you're in, is that you have got to lead by example. Do expect the best things to happen, and then let's be in a position where we can actually put that into practice. Because the alternative isn't worth having. The alternative would mean the end of America. That is exactly my belief. The alternative is the end of the United States. Oh yeah, the country will still be there, the continents will be there, but in terms of its projection of what we understand the United States, did you know that Biden's team, within the first 100 days, want to rewrite the Constitution? Of course they do. The Constitution is their greatest enemy. One of the key points within the 100 days is to, that's why they wanted to control the Senate and the Congress, is to rewrite the Constitution to give the president total power, and to remove the Constitution from a legal format into that of something that you put into a museum and you just say, that was our past. That is why that this cannot be allowed to go on. Hello, dog. That is why people like Trump and all those around him know, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's a fight to the finish. I'll say fight to the finish. And it really is. So look, there we go. Let's just see it play out and see what happens. And we haven't got long to wait, have we? So God bless, and I'll speak to you soon. Hello, dog.